Welcome back to another episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Bennett Newsome, aka Damn It Bennett, out there on the internet. So happy to have you here. If you are brand new to the show, Have Game Will Travel. It's an interview style show that focuses on how there's so much more to esports, gaming, streaming, content creation, and all of the things in between than being just good at a game. So we kind of take like a virtual trip through our guest journey throughout the industry. So if you do have questions, you can ask them in chat as we go. We'll pull them up on stream and get them answered for you. But let's go ahead and get started. We're going to introduce our guest today. He is the CEO and founder of XP League, Jay Melamed. Come on in, buddy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. So let's get started here. Obviously, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Cool. Well, first off, I just have to thank you for inviting me on this. It's been a lifelong dream to be on Have Game Will Travel since your first episode. I saw, Matt on here, and I was like, man, someday I'm going to get on that show. So I appreciate the invite.
Well, here we are,
Yeah. So my name is Jay Melamed. I'm the CEO and founder of XP League. My background really wasn't in esports. I have a background in the business world. I've owned a few businesses, sold a few businesses. During the pandemic, watching my kids, I've got 4 kids, so one of them was an additional. So I've got, just a crew running around my house all the time. And during the start of the pandemic, we realized that kids weren't getting a lot of interaction with each other. We had an opportunity to team up with a couple of other, we owned a coding center. And so we teamed up with some other coding centers to have these kids play and compete in Overwatch. And in a very quick time period, we saw that, it was actually really engaging. The kids had this great opportunity to connect. And I mean, I saw it as the first time I saw esports for what they were and what they could be, and how similar it was to traditional sports. And having been, a parent of kids who game, not understanding, and growing up being a kid who loves video games too, not understanding that there's this like sports component to it, and then doing it myself, I realized that, oh man, I can be a conduit for parents and for kids to participate in this if I could make it look and feel like conventional youth athletics. And from that, XP League was born. And so we ramped up, and I had one of those like 3 o'clock in the morning, sit up in your bed, and I was like, man, I got an idea. I need to go write this thing down. So I went and typed out this crazy manifesto, and from that I built out a business plan, and we launched XP League. And here we are today. We've got we have 50 locations. We just signed our 50th location. We have just under 30 operating. I think in our winter season that starts around Thanksgiving, just after Thanksgiving, we'll have probably, I think, 32 or 33 locations participating.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be it's gonna be great. So
another
that's kind of my background and how I got into this. Yeah.
That's huge. That's really
no, it is.
cool.
We actually just had training here in Raleigh, our home office. You might know some of the folks that were here having a good time learning about what we do and how we do it, so that they can bring it home and rock it out.
Well, that's awesome. So would you classify yourself as a gamer? Is this something that you've been doing for a while, or are you kind of getting into things later in life?
So I wouldn't say that. All right. I was like I would say as a kid, fully a gamer, right?
Okay,
like as a kid, I mean, I like, I had, I mean, I'm old, so I had, I had an OG Commodore 64, and play things like pole position. Actually, this is a good story, and you'll understand this, but I don't think you'll know the toy that I'm talking about. There's a toy called Photon, all right, and it was like laser tag.
Okay.
But it was like the budget laser tag. But the input for the headset and the gun was similar to like the pronged input that you used to plug a mouse into your Commodore 64.
Okay.
And being 8 or 9 years old, I was like, dude, I'm gonna plug this in here and see what it does. and I broke my computer. It totally like just fried the computer, which was cool because then I got a Commodore 128 because my dad was pretty cool like that. And so, I played a lot of computer video games that were like story type things and pretty cheesy. We'd sneak away and play Leisure Suit Larry. Like that was a big deal. And then I got into Nintendo, at a Super Nintendo, played that a bunch. And then, when I got to high school, I really didn't play video games anymore. I sold my computer because I wanted to get speakers for my trunk and I wanted to get a sick amp. So I got these like,
clearly priorities were in the right place.
Yeah. I just got this like, I bought this $500 Honda Prelude, and I spent about $1,200 on some kickers and an amp because I lived in South Florida, so my car had to rattle while I drive down the street. That's how you did it in 1996. But in college, my roommate was kind of big into games and got me back into computers. Yeah, played a lot of Half-Life, and he was really into it. But I played Tony Hawk, but not really a big gamer. And it wasn't until recently, I'd say it was right around the pandemic stuff when it started. Right. My son, Zev Lobos, who's really into gaming, and he's a professional Twitch streamer now too. He gets a couple dollars every month. I mean, he's big.
Got
big
some
deal.
Subs, all right.
Yeah, he's a big deal. He and I started playing Warzone together, and I really liked that game. And so we were playing on PS4, and I realized that I was getting killed by the mouse and keyboard people all the time, and it was pissing me off. So I bought a gaming laptop, started playing keyboard and mouse, and like every other person who ever starts playing a mouse and keyboard game and gets into it, first person shooter, and likes it. Yep. I had to get a better machine, and I had to get a better mouse and a better keyboard and upgrade. And then I found Valorant and have like fallen in love with that game. It is a love to hate game. But I have a really good time. So long story to tell you that I haven't always been a gamer per se, but I love the lifestyle. I love I just love playing games now. Yeah. And I love what it means for my family and for my kids. And Absolutely. It's a really great way to connect with them.
Yeah. And there's, we've talked to a ton of guests about kind of their journey in gaming and coming up, and then maybe there's breaks, there's other things that they got involved in. Which is always good because it sounds like you had other passions, for different things, which is good. For me, it was like music. I had music and gaming. It was always like a constant back and forth between those two things. And you were, pimping out your truck, and that was great, So what would you say was like the first game that really caught you and was like, this is a game that I love. Like, this is the first game I've ever loved.
Oh man. I had a Sega Genesis, and I played Sonic when it first came out, and I played that so much. I mean, the first Sonic on Sega Genesis was it was so great. Yeah. I just played the heck out of it. So I think that's like and then, but I'll tell you something funny. All my friends were really into football, and my dad's from Colombia. Yeah. And so, football is soccer, and he's not really interested in, in the kind of football that we do. Right. So when my friends wanted to play football, I didn't know any of the rules. I didn't know what the hell was going on. But Tecmo Bowl on Nintendo taught me everything that I needed to know about playing football. And so I learned everything I know about football and how to be a football fan and what a down is, all that stuff is from playing Tecmo Bowl. Yeah. So I love that game too.
I feel like those are two great answers because A, one, who doesn't love Sonic, right? And B, I agree with you on a lot of those things. There's a lot of different things that I've learned over the years from video games. Like when I went and did driving for the first time, I was like, oh, I've played Grand Theft Auto, we've got this.
That explains a lot. I've been in a car with you.
I am very bad in driving games now, though, just for the record. I'm better on the road, bad in driving games.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I actually tried an F1 simulator, and I was really terrible.
Was it the one that like moved with you, like as you
No,
because
it
those are
wasn't that
crazy.
cool. Yeah, no, it wasn't that cool. It was, but it did have it did have a like Fantech like pressure steering column.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like it would,
It was
it
serious.
acted like it. Yeah, no, it was sick. It was at the Formula One in Miami, and they had the fan experience.
Nice.
It's cool. It's like this. It's like a semi that they take like half the wall off of and filled with these little rigs.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk. You brought up your time in college, and that was kind of a time that you kind of got back into gaming. So you got a bachelor's degree in business at Goucher College. Talk to us about your time there.
Yeah, so Goucher College.
Okay, my bad.
But that's okay. You know, it's we call it, people call it Goucher. They call it Goucher.
I like that better.
Very fancy.
Yeah.
No. So I went to Goucher. It was I followed a girl. I wasn't really sure I was going to go to college. I wanted to. See my big passion in high school at that time, instead of playing video games, I surfed. I surfed a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
And so my goal was to move to Costa Rica and open up a ding repair shop on the beach, and work at like some board shop, and that was going to be my life. And so then I met this girl when I was traveling abroad. I was in Israel, and she told me that I needed to go to college. And I was like, man, all right, fine, I'll go to college. Where should I go? I was like, where do you go? She's like, I go to Goucher. I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go there. So being resourceful, I figured out I took a semester of Palm Beach Community College, then transferred up to Goucher, and followed her up there. But it was cool, good experience. And then I got my business degree at UNC Canaan Flagler in Chapel Hill.
So you mentioned obviously you traveling there, following a woman, right? And you talk about gaming at the same time. How did those two worlds exist for you while you were in college?
So just to be clear, the girl that I followed to college is my wife. So it did work out. I didn't follow her, and she didn't break up with me like first semester. And then I was like, man, what the hell am I doing in Baltimore?
Yeah, right.
And she's the chief brand officer for XP League, and we do a lot together. But so in college, my gaming was pretty limited. I was actually broke in college, so I couldn't even afford a computer. I had to so for me to get on a computer, I had to go to a computer lab. Okay. My roommate had a computer, and he was obsessed with Half-Life, to the point where we were on the swim team, and we had to be at practice at like 5 a.m. And I would, there was a couple of days where I would wake up and dude would still be there, like grinding it out on Half-Life. And I'm like, Eric, dude, you got to get up. You got to get off that. We got to go to practice, man. Did you not sleep? And he hadn't, but it's funny. I still give him a hard time about that. Then my, one of the guys on my hall got a PlayStation, had Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and I missed a couple of classes because of that. Yeah. getting stuck into Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Oh, yeah. But that was the extent of my gaming in college.
And obviously, you started really diving into the business side of things, right? So you landed an internship with Bloomberg LP, which pretty big internship to land, especially being your first one still as a student. Talk to us kind of about the process for applying, for an internship like that, and what did you do in that internship?
Sure. Cool. Yeah. So Bloomberg, I was studying finance, and my school was a really small college, right. And so the business program was relatively small. And a friend of mine had gone to work for Bloomberg when she graduated. And Bloomberg at the time, Mike Bloomberg when I was there, he had just announced that he was going to run for mayor of New York. So it was kind of interesting because I got to see some of that while I was there. But from the financial aspect, it was cool because it looked great on my resume, and it was the first internship, that I had, and I was actually getting paid where all my other friends, and this going back to 2000, and nobody was getting paid for internships.
Right.
And so I was getting paid $500 a week. So I was like, dude, I am tonning it. Like this is so much money. But I was in Manhattan. And so I was spending like $800 a week. And so a guy who had no money going into this, never had a credit card before, somehow decided to get a credit card, ended up with a credit card, leave, this one job that I finally get in finance in debt because my roommate wanted to go out every night. And I was like, dude, I can't, so I'm eating hot dogs in the park for lunch and all this stuff because New York is just crazy expensive. But getting an internship like that, I think a lot of times it's not so much what you know, but it's who you know, right. Unfortunately. And if you can, and not being afraid to ask for that, for that step up, right? Yeah. I was really interested in so boring, but I was really interested in bond trading. Okay. And my friend worked on the bonds desk, and so she got me in to do that. So I did research on different types of bonds and right. What was going on in that space. And it actually was really boring. It was a super boring job. But it's a cool place to work. It looked great on my resume, especially since I was, initially thinking I was going to be like a Wall Street guy, which is not at all who I am.
Right. I like that though. And, obviously this kind of started the progression of kind of where your career was headed. So you went after graduation, you moved into like financial services, from a fresh, guy out of college, kind of talk about some of the roles that you had from, you were at T. Rowe Price in Maryland.
Price. Yep.
What were you doing over there?
I worked in the financial services support. So I graduated in 2002. The market was terrible. It was really hard to get a job. Yep. So I was really stoked that I gotten that opportunity. Pretty low paying, but it was a job. And so I worked an information desk and had to take my Series 6 and 7 licenses, and it's sort of like being a financial advisor, but they fed me what to say. Right. It's kind of like a junior type person, but it was pretty depressing because the market was terrible. So you'd get phone calls every day from like these elderly folks who are like, why are my stocks not doing well? And it's like, well, it's because it's a time game and you don't have that much of it. So the market's not good. You should have bought bonds. Right. Right. But it's kind of funny like that. It was a good job though. Great opportunity. But I was there for a little while, and the fun part about it was the group that I was hired with. They hired you in a class. So I was hired with I think it's 15 other people or 16 of us total. And most of us were recent college grads, but there were some older folks in it too that were, getting into the finance and right. Maybe a business school, had a business degree. And we did this class for 12 weeks so that we would, know everything that we needed to know to get on the floor and answer questions. And that was super fun. That was great experience. Probably one of the best work experiences I've had. And again, I followed a girl to Raleigh, North Carolina. So that's how I ended up in Raleigh and moved here in late 2002.
Okay. And you obviously held a lot of different jobs after, working in the financial services, from staffing manager to consulting to project management. Kind of at that time during these types of, jobs, was esports or gaming even on your radar, or was this just something that
not at all.
You weren't really paying attention to at the time?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I had no idea what was happening in the gaming world at that time. I mean, I was just focused on trying to start a family, figure out what my business was going to be. It was an interesting progression. Yeah, I went from finance to consulting for construction companies, to going to work for a construction company, to founding a building science company. And then I ran that for a while and grew it, built it, sold it. And so, really it wasn't the first time I had a gaming, so there were two points where games came back into my life in that process. One was, my father-in-law had just done a project for Red Storm Entertainment.
Oh, okay.
And so he came home with a CD of this really cool game called Rainbow Six. And it was the first one. It was the the original Tom Clancy Rainbow Six. And I played the hell out of that game. That was a lot of fun. It's like I have no idea how similar. It's not similar at all to like Siege. Or anything
well,
like that,
they added the multiplayer in now, so I'm told. But yeah, definitely.
So I mean, there was no multiplayer on this one. It was like you were just essentially laying out paths, and you're like, go code alpha, and like sending guys in. It was cool. So I played that a bit, and then fast forward when Eva, my wife, was pregnant. I don't know why I thought that I would have more time, and I finally bought myself what I'd wanted for years. I bought myself a PlayStation. So I bought a PS2, or maybe it was PS3. I can't remember what it was at the time. And I bought, GTA. I think it was 4. Which GTA would have been in 2008?
Maybe Vice City.
It was Vice City.
Yeah,
you're right. It was Vice City. So I bought that, and then I played that a lot. And then the kids came, and I don't think I touched my PlayStation again for a really long time, and ended up like selling it to somebody, or I think I sold it or gave it away. And fast forward, my kids get a Wii. I play on the Wii with them. That's fun. Zev will still tell you to this day the Wii is the best console ever. I wasn't really into it. It's not a lot of fun for me.
I feel like we had kind of that great honor of growing up with a console generation, and every year it just got better. Like, oh my god, the graphics of this one is insane. Like, you would lose your mind because
exactly.
Like,
and then this shows
16
up
bits to 32, right? Like,
exactly. Or like when GoldenEye came out. I was at summer camp. I was a camp counselor that summer. And one of the kids who was a counselor with me brought his console, and I guess it was
N64.
It said 64, yeah. And he set it up with this, with GoldenEye, and I think we would play that it was like, endless. Oh, you guys want to go into town and like hang out or do stuff? Like, no, dude, we're going to like. We're going into the so the cook had like a room with air conditioning and a TV, and so we go into the cook's room, the camp food prep person, and so we would just hang out in her place to play GoldenEye for hours. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, but anyway, so we got the Wii. It was cool, I guess, and then Zev was probably 6 or 7. And I really wanted to like try Call of Duty, and somebody I worked with let me borrow their Xbox 365 with Call of Duty. And so I was playing it, and Zeb was playing it, and Eva saw and did not think it was appropriate for his age. And so we gave that back to my friend John, and didn't play it anymore. And then, eventually the kids wanted a better system, so we bought a PlayStation. We bought a PS4, and then we played some Fortnite. My kids still make fun of me from the first time we played Fortnite. I just figured out how to like crouch, and I was like sneaking up, and I you're talking to your kids, so you say funny things. So I was like, "Uh-oh, daddy's coming to get you," and literally, like, they still make that joke. Like, it's still like. You remember that time when you were crouching? You're like, "Daddy's coming to get you." That's so weird. It's like, yeah.
The most important part is that you're building memories. Like
absolutely.
The joke may be on you, but memories are being made. Right?
Yeah. That's essentially what my entire. That's my world in esports. It's about building relationships with kids, and for kids, and an opportunity and a vehicle for parents to connect with their kids where they are. These are the things that I find really special about what I do in esports, and what I think translates really well to every parent, because your kids are playing video games,
Yeah.
whether you want them to or not, or you think screen time, no matter what your opinion is on it, your kids are playing video games. And so building a structured environment around it so that they can, so that the parents can kind of participate. We stream our matches so that parents can watch their kids play. It brings them into, I always, when I'm explaining what we do, I always talk about it as like, those are our bleachers, right? Twitch is our bleachers. So, you have that parent who comes in and watches their first Fortnite match and their kid playing, has no idea what's going on. But after a few months is like, starting to scream about, making sure they grab that loot box or, they're running out of mats. So it's a fun progression to see.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important part is the kids are going to play that anyway. Like they're going to do that sometimes without permission, like, so if there's a connection to be had and a way for parents to come in and be part of that, I think it's such a great opportunity. My folks do it with my niece and nephew, and that's like the coolest thing for me is like thinking like, oh man, they're playing Wii, they're having a good time. My dad, I'd sent him my PS4, and him and my nephew will play, Madden or NHL or whatever, and they have a blast. And I think that's such a good and an important piece of like building that relationship from a grandparent to a grandchild, or a mom and dad to their kids, like however that may be.
For sure.
Bridging that gap is just such an important piece, and the video game is just the easy part. Like that's where it can be a lot of fun, and they're already interested in it, so you kind of get a win there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of pervasive too. You get into it and then you start finding your place in it, and that's where I'm at now, right? So I started like playing because I wanted to connect with my kid on the games that he was playing on, and now I have this love for Valorant. I mean, it's the first game that esport that I'll actually on my own without Zev, I'll watch. Yeah, I watched VCT. I watched some of the Game Changers today, which, by the way, I think is so cool that Riot did that. I'm such a fan of Game Changers and just the whole model behind it of getting more women in gaming. Yeah. So it's super cool, and you build your relationship with it so much so that now as a joke I put my Twitch behind me, so I'm plugging it. I told Jacob that I was going to come on here and I was only going to talk about any question you asked me. I was only going to answer. Twitch.tv CEO. But as kind of a side project for fun, I thought, hey, what would it be like if somebody who is in esports on the business side, working and building this business, building structured environment for kids in esports, got a coach and started streaming my practices and my lessons and my gameplay, and see what is coaching and what is a structured environment of practice, and kind of putting some framework around the game. What will it do for an old dude? And man, it's great. It's a blast. I love it.
Actually, I think it's funny because I rated you the other day after my stream was ending. I didn't know that you had started this thing where you have a Valorant coach and you're going through different things on stream, and it was actually really fun to watch. Kind of you explaining like, oh, this is Bennett, and then him trying to still coach you on what was happening in the game, and it was really fun. So I'm glad that you're putting that out there, right?
It gives me I have so much respect for like you and for Zev and for like people who can do a lot of things at once, because I will tell you, when I'm playing, if somebody's talking to me in the chat, I can't, dude, I can't do that. I can't look. I'm so confused. My coach makes fun of me because in Valorant, he mentioned to me the other day, you can buy and move at the same time. Right. So like during the buy phase, I'm just frozen. I'm like, okay, I want this gun and I want my shields.
Standing still.
And then I'll go. And he's like, dude, you got to move faster. You got to go set your stuff up. So anyway, but it's dude, I appreciate you stopping in and watching. It's so funny because I played well when you were there for a second.
Yeah, no, you do. You had a couple
kills.
Yeah, you had a nice little clippable moment. I liked it. It was great.
I did. I clipped it because it was funny because I was saying I can't walk and chew gum, and I got those 2 kills.
Well, I don't want to gloss over a big part of your journey and your career, because obviously, this is an esports show. We're talking about esports, and we're going to get up to a lot of the bulk of what you guys are doing now. But I think it's important to kind of talk about the kind of business as you were growing these different businesses. So in 2005, you became the manager of business development for Prime Building Company, which was like a leader in commercial construction. You were there for like 8 years. And obviously you can tell us a little bit about the company and all of that and what you were doing. But I think more importantly, kind of what valuable lessons did you learn that maybe have transitioned over into what you're doing today from those 8 years?
Yeah. So the background there is I was working in construction, and I learned quite a bit. I'd done some consulting on the business side of construction for a software developer. And my father-in-law owned Prime Building Company, and they were like doing great things in Raleigh. But it was back in the old days where there were not a million different general contractors in Raleigh. So he's a pretty big fish in a small pond. And he said, "Hey, you like construction? You're doing great. Why don't you come work for me?" So I did. And it was a great experience. And what I learned there that I've kind of taken with me in everything I've done is just how to. He's a really, it's funny. He's been a mentor to me on the business side, but and also he's been like a dad to me. My dad passed when I was really young, so he was really instrumental in like helping me become an adult and a grown up. And the things that I learned from him and working under him was how to be the CEO that I am now and the CEO that I was in my other companies, and the things that I've done in the way that I interact with people, both, my employees, my customers, like just being real and being approachable and being accessible, and always, acting and interacting with integrity and with heart. And he would do things that just really humanized kind of the roles and did things for his employees that I was always really impressed with. And I was like, man, I'm gonna do that. And so in construction, I mean, a lot of times it can be a kind of a weird, good old boys club, and he is anything but that. And that actually was what made him successful, was he was able to go and kind of like not be the guy with the golden retriever and the pickup truck, and could actually like he came in with clean boots on. So I've always kind of taken a lot of that with me on how to treat people and how to remember just interact with your team and make sure that you always realize that they're people just like you are, and they have issues and they've got things going on, and being reasonable on expectations and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's good. I mean, you obviously want to set that stage right for you and how you run your companies and things like that, which
Sure.
I'd assume would lead into founding the Prime Energy Group, which was kind of the next part of your journey. There was you built this. Tell us a little bit about Prime Energy Group.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did at Prime Building Company is, this was back when people were just now like doing things sustainably was a fad, right? So it was green, and everybody's like, green buildings a fad. So I was one of the first people in North Carolina to become a, USGBC, United States Green Building Council certified professional, and I wanted to bring sustainable building to Prime Building Company. And one of the things that I got really interested in was energy efficiency, and I realized like that's what matters, right? You can talk about green and like until you're blue in the face, like, oh, we have cork floors and we have all this other fun green stuff, but it really doesn't. It's nice and people like to talk about it, but what really matters is the energy usage of the building. I mean, long term, that's what affects our climate and what affects all those things the most. And so if you want to build something sustainably, it's understanding what the energy usage of that building is and how can you minimize that, and how can you minimize your footprint. So the quickest answer on that is installation and the way that you build the envelope. And so being kind of a bit of a nerd. Spent a lot of time researching, figuring out, what makes a building energy efficient, what's the best way to do it. And that led me to wanting to start my own business. I partnered with my father-in-law, and I worked 2 jobs for a long time. I was still working at Prime Building Company doing biz dev and project management while I was kicking off Prime Energy Group. Ended up going to business school at the same time, ended up having triplets at the same time. It was 2008 through 2012 was a crazy time. And, we built it up. It was the largest, Icing was one of the products that we used. We were the largest Icing, private Icing dealers in the country, won all kinds of awards for it. And it was cool. And the truth is like the things I learned working for my father-in-law were the things that made me successful there. It was, I approached it differently. I approached it from, I wasn't an installation contractor. No, you'll never hear me say I was an installation contractor. I had an installation business. I mean, it was a building science company, and we were an energy efficiency consulting company. We used insulation as one of the products to get we were selling you, but that was just the product. So, that was fun. It grew. And then I ended up selling that to a large consolidator, Install Building Products. They're a publicly traded building services consolidator. They own everything from installation companies to glass and mirror, garage doors. I mean, anything that goes in your house, these dudes own a business that does that.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was cool. I learned a lot in doing that, because taking a business through an acquisition is a hell of a learning experience. You learn, you get to really appreciate the value of what you put together. And then I ended up staying on with them for 5 years, running my brand, as well as about 5 other different brands that we acquired while I was there. I helped on the M&A side of it, integrating them into the company. And I mean, it was cool. It was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun for the first few years. It did get old. And being kind of an entrepreneur, you get antsy and want to do something different. And that's when, we started talking about this XP League thing.
So tell me this, because I know that we have, a lot of students at Full Sail that are in that world of entrepreneurial, business, and they want to, be a founder of their company. What were some of the early kind of, challenges or pitfalls of founding your own company?
So it's the biggest challenges you'll have as an entrepreneur is the emotional roller coaster that you go through, because it's going to happen. I mean, there are days you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, man, dude, I am on top of the world. My idea is so good and I've got such a great plan and I'm going to kill it. And then you'll wake up one morning and you're like, what the hell am I doing? Why don't I just go get a job? This sucks. Nobody's going to believe in me. And so my advice is if you've got that entrepreneurial itch and you have something, you got to stick to it and know that you're going to go through these ups and downs. And I was a part of a group called it was a entrepreneurs organization. It used to be Young Entrepreneurs Organization, and they put you in a kind of a team with some other guys so you can commiserate about what it's like, because they say it's lonely. And as an entrepreneur, when you're the boss, it's hard to talk to. If your spouse is in the business, it's easier to communicate about that. But sometimes you're afraid to communicate things. Like if you're scared, you don't want to tell your spouse that you're scared. You don't want to tell your employees that you're scared. So having this like group of people to chat with who are in a similar situation was really great. And one of the things that I learned there that is important for everyone to know, no matter what you're doing, is imposter syndrome. Like, I don't care who you are and what you've done. At some point, you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, dude, how did you end up here? You don't know anything. Like, dude, there's this is, why are they letting me do this? Like, who is, like, people are going to pay me to do something. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't belong here. Everyone feels that.
100%.
Everyone. And it's hearing other people that are successful and have built businesses and have done these great things say it to me, validated, my feelings and made me realize that, like, okay, cool. Everybody feels this. It's not just, I'm not crazy. And maybe I do belong. So.
Yeah,
quiet,
I
quiet,
couldn't
quiet.
agree with you more. I think that's the best advice because everybody does go through it, and it's such a it's easy to be defeated by that, you know.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And the other thing I'll say is this, for the students at Full Sail, and if they are interested in doing something on their own and building a business, it's all about coming up with a way to execute on it. You have to have a plan, because like I always hear things about like, hey, I want to talk to this venture capital. I want to talk to somebody because I have a great idea. Ideas don't mean anything. It's plans. Nobody pays you for your ideas. People pay you for the plan to execute on that idea. I have a friend who's been in the venture capital world, and when I was talking about what we're doing with XP League, I was like, man, what should I like? I don't want to talk to people about this. I should put an NDA together and like be real secretive about it. He's like, no. So just have conversations, man. Don't make it complicated, because you know what? If your idea and your plan is good, you'll do it before they do, and you have a plan. They're not going to like you have to make that different, because someday you're going to tell people what you're doing, and it's not going to be a secret anymore. And if they can figure out how to get there as fast as you, then you didn't plan well enough and you didn't differentiate yourself. So don't be afraid to have the conversation. So I always thought that was a pretty good piece of advice.
Yeah, no, great advice. And I think that can help you formalize that plan, right? Like, okay, I need to really dive into this. I need to focus more on this than the idea. And I know a lot of people get stuck in that idea world, and they just want to keep iterating on the idea and make it better and better and better, but they forget how to get there, how to execute, like you said. So that's great. Well, speaking of executing, you guys launched in 2020, which obviously was a crazy time already. You gave a little bit of an intro at the beginning, but I feel like another one here is always important. Talk to us a little bit about XP League and what that entails for those that don't know.
Cool. XP League is a youth esports organization for kids age 7 to 17. We are a structured, values-based program where we take esports and competitive gaming and put it into a framework similar and easy to follow and understand, like conventional sports, so that it's easy for parents and mom and dad to get involved and see what you're doing, and not look at it as more screen time, but look at it as structured screen time. We ensure that, like, when we're working with our kids and we're building out the curriculum that we do, it's about the gaming, but it's about building sportsmanship values and building life skills and building friendships and confidence and all these, there's just so many great stories of the experiences that I've had with the kids involved in XP League. And, we've only been doing it for 2 years, and I've seen amazing things and results on like these kids who have just really grown as people. And that's what it's about. It's a franchise brand. So for those entrepreneurs out there that are interested in esports, if you can't find a job in esports, I've got one that you can you can start your own, be your own boss, open an XP League. It's super rewarding in the interactions that you have with the kids. Yes, I mean that's essentially like the framework of it. It's year round. We have seasons similar to other athletic programs, and we have our North American Finals, which is our large in-person tournament that we do once a year. Last year in June of 2022, it was at the beautiful Full Sail University, and the live on Full Sail Live, as well as the, I want to say it right, the Orlando Health Full Sail Fortress.
Close.
Full Sail Orlando.
Full Sail University Orlando Health Fortress.
Okay, sorry.
It's the full.
I tried.
You did great. I liked it.
Yeah. So, and it was, I mean, obviously, you were there, but for those that weren't, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was just such a blast. We had 48 teams there. I think Sari told me that it was the largest esports event ever on campus. We had 200 kids, 220 kids competing. We had about 1,000 people there. We had to, we had the fire marshal redirecting people away from live. And,
and we've hosted things like MLG, tournaments for Call of Duty. We've hosted things for Halo on campus. I mean, we've done a lot of esports events over the years, dating back to like 2011, and this
That's
was the
crazy.
largest. I mean, it was in both venues, which is pretty crazy.
It was, and working with the Full Sail students was an absolute pleasure. They are so professional. They just made it so easy. I mean, the year before we did it in Raleigh, and we were really lucky in the sense that Full Sail sent up a couple of students, and Jacob came up with them, and having them there that year was critical. I mean, they really filled out some of the things that we didn't know what we were doing. So that was cool. And then, obviously getting the opportunity to do it. We actually, we were talking about this the other day, Jacob, when he was here for North American Finals in Raleigh, we were in the same building. They just had the big Fortnite Invitational, and where HCS kicked off last year. I remember, we were talking about this. He walked up to me and he said, "Next year, you're going to do it Full Sail."
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, cool, man. Sounds good." Just kind of
why
like,
not?
whatever. Yeah. Like this guy, I just, sure. Yeah, of course. We'll do it there. That sounds great. No, seriously. You have to come to Orlando and look at it. You're going to do it in Orlando. I was like, all right, cool. So in 2023, we're doing it in Orlando Full Sail again.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be a blast. We're going bigger. We're going more kids. I got to figure out how to fit more computers in there.
Yep.
Yeah. Got a good job for you to figure out.
And I feel like it is perfect, like, segue to this question is, as the co-founder and CEO of XP League, what is a day of life of it consist of? Like, what is it for you? Is it figuring out how to get more computers?
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot of things. I mean, it's selling to potential owners, like explaining what we do, educating them on what we do and why it's a good business model. It's building partnerships with pro orgs, colleges, OEMs, just other partners to work with and interact with. It's making sure that our operations are running smoothly, that we've got things planned out for next season. It's talking to publishers and making sure that we have enough codes for Apex Legends this next season coming up. It's doing all of those things, and it's looking at strategic planning and figuring out, okay, well, what's next? Where do we want to be? What do we want to be doing? And kind of building those things out. And sometimes it's as simple as getting to hang out and play with kids. That's one of the things that I always make sure I take time to do is interact and be a part of it. So every once in a while I'll get on and cast a game. I'll hang out and play with some of the kids. I actually subbed in on a game once, and you're not allowed to play an XP League if you're not in the age range, and you're certainly not allowed to sub in as an an adult or somebody on the team. They made the exception for me because I'm so bad that the other team was like, oh yeah, you can have Jay in there. Like, go ahead. You can put Gigadet.
Actually take him.
Yeah, it's no big deal. Gigadet can sub in. We'd rather do that than do 4v5. So I think I had 2 kills that game. But it's just so much fun, man. It's just so much fun.
And I feel like for you guys, it's kind of almost like plug and play. I mean, I think the hardest thing that most people, especially from a middle school or high school esports program, is concerned is like, who do we play? Like, okay, we got some kids that are interested. Now, where do we go? And with XP League, you already have this built-in network of a league there, right? So you pop up shop and you're right in it. You have your kids, and then they play everybody from the league, which I think is such a great idea. And the fact that you've already got a total of 50, 30 currently active and 50 coming is pretty insane and exciting.
It is. It's super cool. And you said it, the whole business model is based on the idea that it's turnkey, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible for the community to participate in esports. So that means, in a mobile model, we've got, they play on laptops, and so if we want to turn the Parks and Recs department into an arena. We just pop up an arena at Parks and Recs. If they want to do it at a private school or at a community college or whatever, they don't have a facility. You just pop up an arena, and you've got that's the real have game will travel, right? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, it's have laptops will travel. So we pop up our arenas wherever we need. Sometimes we play out of lands, and some of our locations have actually set up brick and mortar shops. But the idea there is looking at the community and helping them where they need it. Being that non-scholastic piece allows for us to control it a little bit better in terms of the games that we play, how we play them. And it also really allows for us to control the coaching side of it and the structure there. I mean, we built our own coach certification program. So through a partnership with the Positive Coaching Alliance, we taken their certification, mixed in some esports coaching from a professional esports coach. He's built curriculum for pro orgs. Right. And so work together to create something that is, a really great program. And so our coaches all have these certifications, and, build it out. There's a question in the chat.
Oh, is there a question? Okay, let's
I'm just kidding.
No, we're doing it.
It's Jacob. Jacob wants to know what CEO grind is. Well, Jacob, I'll tell you, CEO grind is my Twitch channel that everyone should go check out and follow. You don't need to subscribe. It's cool. Just follow. I don't need to. I'm not monetizing it. I just want you to watch me play video games. That's all I care about. So come on and follow me, and you get to make fun of me while I try to learn how to play Valorant.
You just got to raid him while he's playing Valorant. He'll do great. That's the key.
Exactly. Show up with 40 people, and I will just pop off.
Yeah. So I was reading a couple headlines, obviously about XP League doing the research for the show, and since you started XP League, you've kind of racked up some pretty great titles and partnerships. I mean, obviously the one that what sticks out is like the first and largest esports franchise in North America. That's like a huge, accolade that you guys are starting that, right? And you now have partnered with Dark Zero Esports. Talk to us a little bit about that partnership.
Yeah, so I've been friends with one of the owners of Dark Zero. It's owned by a private equity group, and he was the CEO. He's actually stepped into a chairman role, and we've talked about this for a long time of doing something together. Yeah. And I have this vision of an official, like I hate saying the word Little League, but it's what people resonate with. Yeah. And because Little League that's a brand, it's right? That's trademarked. But this idea that when you go and you play Little League or you play Pop Warner football, you don't go and play on like, the Orlando, I don't know, shoe polish. I'm just making, that'd be a weird team name. I don't know where the hell that came from. But anyway, you play on like a team, right? So you go play for like the Orlando Giants or the Orlando Chiefs or Dolphins or whatever. That doesn't exist in esports. And I want to build that, right? So, they kind of saw the same vision that I have, and we actually have a few more orgs we're about to announce. There'll be a press release next week. We're doing stuff with Parabellum. We have some other orgs that we're kind of finalizing some agreements with, and they vary on how structured it is. Like some are more structured than than others on meet and greets or coaching or helping with curriculum, or with Parabellum we're doing some academy stuff. I mean, it's gonna be really, really cool. But at the very low level, the vision is to have enough pro orgs so that our kids in the regions where those pro teams are will wear the jerseys and have the name of that team. So right now, I mean, we have the permission to do it with a few teams, Dark Zero being one of it. We will have an XP League Dark Zero team grouping. So that could be from, if you have a really strong team and you're the franchise owner and you want to call them Dark Zero and have them wear Dark Zero jerseys, we can do that. And so we'll be able to do that with a bunch of other teams. Yeah. And so my goal is to get to the point where we have enough orgs bought into that with us and sharing that vision so that our platinum level of elite players, which is about probably 15% of all of XP League kids
Yep.
will have, an interaction with one of those teams.
That's
as
cool.
it's kind of like a junior league, junior team.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a win for both, right? Like,
Yeah, no, it's huge.
The
It's
esports
huge.
orgs are like getting to interact with the future
Absolutely.
of esports, as in the
Absolutely.
youth, and then obviously the kids who are floored to meet, some pro. Like that's gonna
Yeah.
be really neat.
It's it's so cool. When you think about what we do, and well, here's the thing about esports, right? So, esports is a bit different than other pro sports because in most cases, people like the org because of who plays on the team. It's a back of the jersey, not front of the jersey. And this is a fandom conversation that I've had with a lot of people. I actually had a really great conversation probably about a year and a half ago with Adam Reimer when he was at Optic about the fandom problem in esports and how to fix that. And we talked about the things that made us fans of the teams that we followed when we were kids and why we were lifelong fans. And it's some sort of connection. You have to have a connection to the team, whether that's because your parents rooted for them and they introduce you to it, and you have these memories of cheering for that team with your mom or dad, or it's for me, I'm a huge Dolphins fan, and it's because I'm a big time Dan Marino fan when I was a kid, and it's because we almost moved into the same neighborhood he lived in, and that stuck with me, and it was a big deal for me as a kid. And I had, I was so now as an adult for a lot of years I've been a Dolphins fan, which sucked up until this year, which is amazing. and now I'm for the first time I can watch the news and see that watching sports news and ESPN and stuff and seeing that we're not awful. So refreshing. But the conversation around the idea that this gives orgs an opportunity to connect with kids in a way that is so meaningful, because they will always have that memory of, oh man, when I was a kid, I played I played on this Apex Legends team, and I was on the Dark XP League Dark Zero, and Dark Zero won ALGS that year. It was amazing. And, so I've followed them forever. Right. Those are the type of stories that I think will come out of relationships like this. And, and having these conversations with pro orgs has been a lot of fun, because they get into it and they see the vision too. So I think it's going to be really successful.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what you guys do. And, you also in 2022, you executed a deal to bring in the youth franchising juggernaut that is Unleashed Brands in as a investor and partner. Talk to us a little bit about Unleashed Brands and that partnership.
So Unleashed Brands is doing what Neighborly and Inspire Brands did for other industries. So Neighborly is a franchising brand platform that owns a bunch of different brands on things that do things at your house, right? So if you need something from your house, you call Neighborly, and one of their roofing company comes out or whatever. And so Unleashed, their vision was they were started by guys who were in Urban Air, which is it started as a trampoline park and evolved into an indoor adventure park, and they're pretty cool. I mean, some of them have indoor skydiving, they have go-karts. I mean, they're insane. They're the coolest things ever. If they had them when I was a kid, I'd probably spend all day there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's really amazing. And so, you had this vision of creating a platform for youth enrichment, and they kind of break it down into 3 worlds. There's play, learn, and grow. And so they reached out to me really early. I mean, I've probably talked to them for over almost a year before we actually did anything. And it was great. I mean, they had the same vision that I did of reaching kids and making a difference in their lives and impacting them in a positive way. And they Michael Browning, who's the CEO of Unleashed Brands, he always says, kids don't have to wait to be great. That's his tagline. And, I talked about that with our owners in the sense that yeah, dude, we see that every day. Our kids, they are great and they know they're great. And the way that we build up their confidence in what we do with them is phenomenal. So there's a lot of shared vision on what we can do to enrich these kids' lives. And so they've bought a bunch of different brands since they started. They own the Little Gym, which is a huge international. I mean, they've got locations as far as like, I think they have some like in Argentina and like Thailand and stuff. Snapology, which is a STEM brand. They own this really cool one called Class 101, which is it's a collegiate planning franchise. And the owner, the guy who started it, who's now the brand president and CEO, is just a phenomenal person. And he really cares about the kids that he works with and getting them into schools and getting them, scholarships and doing all this great stuff. So it's a really interesting model, but Unleashed is crazy. They're huge, and they continue to grow. They're winning all kinds of accolades in the franchising world, and they're doing it the right way by supporting their franchisees. And, so it's really exciting that they were interested in us. It's been fun. Of course, everything has its challenges, but it's been fun, getting integrated into that program and getting to still, I mean, it's great because we get to retain who we are and why we do it.
Yeah. And that's great. I mean, I think like being able to be XP League and do what you guys are doing and then having that support behind you is huge. And you guys obviously had received a ton of other accolades since, forming. You now received your STEM accreditation. You were nominated.
Validator.
Yeah, you were nominated as a Tempest Awards watch list recipient. There's a lot of really good things, coming out here for XP League. And talk to us kind of about what that feels like at the moment.
Oh man, it's like it's great. It feels it's really amazing, and it's really refreshing and I guess validating that we came at esports in a way that we wanted to be authentic, and we wanted to really like we didn't want to just come in and be like, oh yeah, we're going to play competitive video games and we're going to be esports and we're just going to take advantage of the community and kind of play it from that angle. We wanted to get into it, like really get into it and do it, like understand what it means from the grassroots level to the, like, we want to know what it feels like and what it's like for the streamers and for kids who compete in, on high school teams or compete into academy teams, and what the pro circuit's like, and what their, the different challenges that they face, and kind of just looking at it holistically from, we say esports a lot, but just from competitive gaming, and just looking at it from the entire like competitive gaming ecosystem, and approaching it from a place where we can honor it and be authentic, and having them recognize that we did that, and allowing us to be a part of it. I mean, it's a really great community, and if you approach it right, it's unbelievably welcoming, and it's a great place to be. And so receiving, we were nominated for Tempest Award for North American Finals, which is really cool. We'll win it next year. And then getting put on that watch list just is such a phenomenal validator that, like, hey man, I love you guys, but you like me too. That's so cool. It feels great.
And obviously, we did the North American Finals at Full Sail, which was huge. And there was watching some of that gameplay. I mean, some of those teams were insane. And I feel like probably could hang at, and they were maybe middle school level. And I definitely think they could have hung in high school and maybe even at the collegiate scene, because there were some top talent players there that were just keeping the team in the game. And
did you catch any of the Rocket League?
I did, yeah. I obviously I'm a fan of Valorant. I'm terrible at the game, so I like it. I like watching it. So I stuck around for a lot of the Valorant action. I saw some of the Rocket League as well.
So I'll tell you one of my goals. Like I have a list of goals that I want to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years, and one of them was prove a path to pro from XP League. And it was, just like one kid to do something it's not for everyone. It's not like our mission. We
Right.
have we make no claims that like, hey, come play with us and you guys are going to go pro. You're
Right.
not, like, very few kids are. I do think it'll help some kids get into college and play a collegiate. And I think it'll be great for collegiate programs to have kids who have been on teams for years and understand how to be on a team and come into it. And like, so I'm excited about that. But we achieved that goal way before I ever thought we would. And the kids who won NAFs, the Rocket League team, that trio has actually been signed by a pro org.
That's incredible.
X13. Yeah. And they compete and stay plugged in. They compete in the stay plugged in things a lot. And if you look at their stay plugged in's like national rankings and point system for Rocket League, our kids are number one.
That's insane.
In the country. Yeah. So
that's huge.
Yeah, dude, it's super cool. It's super cool. It creates some issues in the sense that like now everybody wants to play for that location, but like AAU, like all of a sudden, people picking up and moving to different parts of the country because they want to be on an esports team in that neighborhood. Doesn't work that way.
If you got the talent and the ability, maybe that's how it works, and we'll see.
Yeah. So no, man, it's super cool. But Bryonic's in the crowd. Bryonic called it, man. He shoutcasted it. Yeah. So the Franklin oh man, I just drew a blank on what the team's name was. But anyway, the kids from Franklin, they're on X13 now.
That's awesome. And obviously I feel like that could probably mark one of your favorite memories so far of working in the industry so far, or do you have other is there another memory that comes to mind of just being like, wow, what a cool opportunity this is?
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool one. That's not, I mean, I wouldn't even put that in top 10 of the like amazing things that like I look at as like the things that stand out to me as the memories that I'll take with me on wow, this is cool and we did something great. We share a mutual friend, Harrison, who I mean, dude, that's a cool thing that we did, right? Yeah. So and that's a cool thing that we have. I mean, we've got a kid who participates on one of our leagues and plays on a team, and he is constantly battling leukemia, and he has ups and downs, and he's been in and out of, I mean, phenomenal kid, an unbelievable will. He's been in hospice and then out of hospice. I mean, he fought his way out of hospice. It's just like, really moving. And he played in North American finals remotely, and they came in second. And that was like, anybody who was around me saw that I broke down. I mean, I had to leave the room because I was just bawling when they won their last round, leading them into second, because he clutched the game. And I was just thinking, dude, this kid is sitting at home in Dallas on oxygen, and he just clutched for his team. And how are we able to do this for people? Like, how does this work? Why? It's amazing. Sure. It was, and that'll stick with me forever. And that actually led us to partnering with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and actually Dark Zero's involved in that as well. And we're trying to offer this up we want to make this. I mean, we're eventually going to look for brand partners to sponsor this and to really build it out, because there's a lot of kids that are immunocompromised that don't get to hang out with their friends and don't get to have normal experiences. This allows it. I mean, they get to hang out and play on a team with a coach, with kids, and like makes their life a little less shitty for a few hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's, I think, one of the beauties of esports and competitive gaming and just gaming in general is that I would say 99.9% of the people, they just want to belong, they want to be a part of something, and gaming is that, right? And that gives so many opportunities to so many people that you may never have met before, but you did because of gaming, right? And that's such a cool part of this industry and what that does, that really can change lives and bring that positivity back into the world, which is really important, especially at a time like now.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It's our we live by the good luck have fun mentality with our kids, right? You talk in chat, it's GGs and good luck, have fun, and everything has to be positive. And, you know, we don't allow any like BMing in the community. And I like to think that we're building a community that's going to impact esports and gaming, competitive gaming, and the multiplayer games in a like we're gonna have an impact on it for years to come, because kids that come out of our program, they're not going to be toxic, and they're going to approach it differently. And so, we're doing a little bit to change the community where, sometimes it's not as fun and as inclusive as it should be.
Yeah. If you've ever heard me talk on a panel before, one of the things that I've been saying for at least the last like 5 years is, the thing that I'm most excited about is to watch the future of the kids that are currently in middle school playing in an organized fashion, or in high school that are in an organized fashion, and watching them work their way through that into the world of the collegiate esports space, because these are going to be not only the probably top talent that you'll see from a competitive standpoint, but they're going to be like the most well-rounded esports players that we've ever had, because they can be coached. A lot of people come to the table and they've never had a coach for esports before, and that can be a challenge to get over, get through. But if they've gone through this system of competitive, play like what you guys are doing and coaching in XP League, I mean, it really opens the door for them to understand, hey, toxicity isn't something that we want to embrace. We are here to have fun and be competitive, be a sportsman. Like that's a huge part of that journey. And I think as these things go on and as those leagues continue to develop, by the time that those kids are leaving high school, they're looking at, potential, opportunities for scholarships for school and college and to play video games. And that's like the coolest thing to say in the world, Like,
no, I know it's unreal. It's unreal. And when you talk to parents about this, they'll say things like, can you really like play video games in college and get a scholarship? And it's like, yeah, dude, like a lot of them. And it's not, you're not getting a full ride in almost all cases, but you'll get something. And geez, man, getting money to go to a school to play a video game that you love.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's part of something.
Dude, that's amazing. I mean, if there's a couple of things that I hear a lot when I tell the story of what we do, when I'm talking to collegiate programs, it's always, man, I wish our kids did that, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
We always get these kids who have never been on a team before and they don't understand team dynamic, and we have forfeits and we have these issues. The other thing I hear is, I wish they had this when I was younger. I mean, that's probably the most common thing that we hear. I mean, and even like, I mean, I was talking to like a 19-year-old pro the other day who was, said the same thing. He's like, man, I wish they had that when I was younger. It's like, well, you were actually competing for money and you went pro at 16. So, I mean, you sort of had it, but
you did it on your own.
Yeah, exactly. But that would have been cool to have you doing that too.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of fun, man. I love it. I love what we're doing. I love the industry. I love the impact this has on kids, the confidence it builds, the relationships it builds. I mean, I see it at home with my kids. I mean, my son is, so actually my youngest, they spend probably more time online and interacting in the gaming world than they do like with other kids, like hanging out, because they have a lot of anxiety and things like that. And it kind of makes this safe space for them to feel, to feel at home and to feel who they are. And it's, I mean, that's awesome. He's not, they're not competitive. They don't get on there to like, they're playing,
be the best, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're playing like Genshin Impact or Roblox or things like that. Exactly. But it's their place and they get to be who they want to be. But, and they do it in a positive way where, sometimes you get some kids who act toxic because they use that avatar as kind of a mask of who they are, and they get to be their worst self. And so one of the like things I think about with XP League is we build character, not avatars. We're trying to take that anonymity away from the kids. You can be in this space and you can be who you are, and embrace it, because that's how you're going to make genuine relationships, and that's how you're going to make genuine connections in the space. And so don't be afraid to be who you are. Be real in your gaming and online, and be real in the real world.
Yep.
And so one of the things that we talk about a lot with our kids in XP League is that you have to respect the game and respect your opponents, and realize that when you're playing somebody, you're not just playing a character on a screen. You're playing against another kid sitting in a chair in front of a monitor, in front of a keyboard, in front of a mouse, who's just like you.
Yeah.
And the things that you say to him or her or them affects them the same way that it would if it was directed at you. So, you want to take that in and think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's it's such an important piece of the puzzle as these kids get older and get out into the world. Leading with those types of ideas, I think it's going to be a great future for them, and obviously their journey in esports. But obviously, before we go, I feel like we could talk all night.
Yeah.
But I do want to give you some time to first to give some shout outs and let people know where they can find you.
Sure.
Before we have a couple last minute questions. So go ahead. Where can people find you? How should they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I'm on so me personally, twitch.tv CEO grind. You can follow me on Twitter at MelaMedJ. XP League is at XP League on Twitter. We're xpleague.gg. We have a location map finder on there, so if you know some kids, hop on there and check it out and see where we're at, so you can refer them and get them on a team. We do have virtual programs, so if we're not where you are yet, reach out anyway. We'll hook you up and get you playing. There's a home or a team for every esports athlete.
Perfect. We got one last question from chat, and that comes from Phoenix Knapp. What is the goal? What is a goal that you have for XP League?
The goal that I have for XP League is for XP League to be the brand of youth esports. I want XP League to be thought of the same way that Little League is thought of. I want kids who participate in XP League to be recognized as something special. I want people who coach and work with XP League to be recognized as something special. I like to equate it to Eagle Scouts. I was not a Boy Scout. I was never in scouting, but I know what an Eagle Scout is, and I know what it means, and I know what they go through. And so I want XP League athletes, when they apply for college or want to play on a collegiate team, for the recruiter or the esports director to look at me like, oh man, this kid was on XP League, man. Yeah, dude, we need one of those guys. They're good. They know how to be a teammate. They know how to support it, and they know how to stay positive. And for our coaches who sometimes are volunteers, get certified and work with kids, and all of a sudden, hey man, I really love this. I want to be an esports coach. I'm going to apply to Full Sail to work with the Armada. And you get their resume and you look at him and, oh yeah, dude, this guy coached a couple XP League teams. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to interact with these guys. So that's my goal. And I want to in 5 years I want to have affected 50,000 kids. Yeah. So it's a big goal. But
that's huge. Yeah, and I think you guys are well on your way. And definitely going to be able to make that happen as it continues to grow.
Thanks, man.
Awesome, Jay. Well, thank you so much for being here. We will see you next time on Have Game Will Travel. Thanks for hanging out with us, and have a great rest of your evening.